everyone, Arwen here, and today I want to talk about tarot and oracle cards, one of my favorite subjects in the entire universe. And the first thing I want to do is kind of move into how I see cards and like what they mean to me. So for years I was always, using cards and playing with cards, and I just loved it and it made me so happy. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do this with other people because it makes my heart soar. And when I was on my journey, one of the things that I did is I stopped and I asked my higher self, I was like, why do I love this so much? Like, what is it about the cards that just makes me all sparkly and bright? And I closed my eyes and I did what I call an archetype realm reading, which is where you use archetypes to allow your subconscious to tell you, something, which is pretty much what you do with cards, right? You allow the archetypes on the cards to tell you what you need to know. And what I saw in my mind was this big, brilliant bubble, and it was pink. And I saw all these pink bubbles, right? Okay, they're floating around, and then I looked and I saw the universe everywhere, and then like they're floating around in the universe, and I looked inside the different bubbles, and I saw, in some bubbles I saw cards, and other bubbles I saw like angels that were like talking, and like it looked like they were like explaining things. And then I asked myself, I said, well, what do the bubbles mean? And what I got was they are energetic packets from your higher self, right? Of thoughts and ideas and information. And when I moved into the bubbles, I realized that it's like the cards are a link of a way that my higher self can communicate with me in images, and it's one of the ways that our angels, our guides, our higher self, God or source energy, whatever you'd like to call it, communicates with us directly. So it almost felt like angel sparkles manifested in the physical. Not to be too terribly airy-fairy, but yeah, that's what it feels like to me. And I love cards, especially because I'm very kinesthetic, right? So if you love cards too, you probably like love feeling them and like picking the card, so I'm a very hands-on person, right? Like I learn by doing the most, and then by seeing second, and then by hearing third. Okay, so let's jump into it. Okay, so now I want to get into the first thing that I do before I start a reading for myself or someone else, and that is I always ground, right? I ground into the ground, and I also ground up into source energy, okay? And if you do any of the energy clearing sessions with me, I do the same thing, okay? So I love the tree exercise, my favorite thing to do, okay? I love the archetype of the trees. Although I'm sure it's because it's been a lot of other lifetimes being druid, right? And druids are all about trees. So what I would do is I would always watch, in my core, right? I'd see in my core like a tree root going down, okay? Going down. If I'm sitting on the ground like I am right now, I would see it going through my root chakra down into the ground. And if I'm sitting in a chair, I'd see them go down my legs. And sometimes when I'm sitting down, I see them going down my legs too, and then out of my foot chakras, and then all the way into the ground. And I watch the roots go all the way really deep into the earth, like a couple miles into the earth. And I watch them tap into like the really big crystals that are down there. And then I would watch the tree roots go out, right? All the way, a couple miles, okay? So now I'm really grounded in the earth. And then I would just wait. And I wait for the energy of the crystals, the energy of the earth, Mother Earth, to come pulsing back up through the tree roots, right? And I wait for it to get to my core, right? Okay, so I just felt it come up. And then the thing that I do after that is I'll go ahead and connect up. So I imagine a big, gigantic tree coming out of my head, reaching up into the ethers, miles into the sky, and these big, gigantic leaves just unfurling, right? And absorbing energy from source and the universe and the sun, okay? And I allow that energy to come all the way back down the leaves, all the way back down my branches, and all the way back down inside me, back into my middle, where it meets with the energy from the center of the earth. And I wait for that to connect together. And then the next thing I do is I like to, I guess this is balancing my male and my female energies. So I have these giant crystals. This one is an amethyst and this is a quartz. Okay, and I got these guys at the Rock and Crystal Show, which if you guys have one in your area, definitely Google that and see when they come. They always come to my area in October. Okay, so anyway, I think this guy was like $5 and this was like $8, maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, so I felt guided to do this from my higher self. So I actually stuck with these crystals for many years before I started to use them to kind of balance my male and female. So this one feels very feminine to me and this one feels very male. And just when I feel that, because when I tune into the crystal, this one spirals like a female and this one spirals like a male. I have two, is it selenite? Could be selenite. I'm probably saying that wrong. But I have two of them, and I noticed one day they were sitting on my bookshelves, and I looked at them, I noticed one energy spiraled that way, and the other one, the energy spiraled that way. And I was like, wait a minute, and I realized, oh, that one's male and that one's female, and I never thought about that before. So, or at least that's my interpretation of that energy. So this one, the female one, I always put in my left hand because I felt guided to do so, and then this one I put in my right hand because I felt guided to do so, and I put the big flat surface on my palms, right? And so I allow the energy from this stone to go up my arm and into my chest, and then I allow the energy from this stone to do the same as it goes up in here. So I always relax and I wait for the up. There they go. There's one, there's the other. And the female one always spirals up. I always see it, it spirals up. And then the other one, this one, the male one, it always goes into my middle and then spirals down into the earth. So I wait for the energies of each of those crystals. So the amethyst one goes up, and when it reaches, whenever it's reaching my higher self, and then it comes back down. See, I just felt it come back down. The same thing with this one. I let it go into the earth, and then there it is, it comes back up. And then those two energies meet. And then I always relax, and I see like a combustion happening, right? And I just allow the energy that's like this ball that's in my center, and I just allow it to do this until it envelops my whole entire energy field, okay? So now I've linked to the earth, I've linked to cosmic energy, and I've balanced my left and right sides of my field, my male and female energies. And now I am ready to work when the supernova ball envelops my whole entire field, right? And if I don't have my crystals with me, which I always leave them at home, what I do is I just imagine that they're with me, so they don't need to physically be there in order for me to use them. I just visualize the amethyst one in this hand, and then the other one, the quartz in this hand, and just feel their energy move through me, okay? And where I got that is I just saw it in my mind that that is what I should do. So that's what I do every single time now before I start doing any sort of reading with someone.